Hey guys, Dr. Kristie Ennis. If you've got tight hips, these yoga poses are going to help increase your flexibility and relieve some of that discomfort in minutes. These first few poses are on the ground or even can be done in bed. So I'm going to take my feet a little wider than hip width apart. Arms are going to come out to the side if you've got the space to do that. And then both knees are going to drop over to one side, and I'm going to press right down into this hip to get the hip flexor on this side. Then we're switching sides. So you're pausing just for a moment in each side, hip flexor again, and then opening up that hip joint all through the entire hip, getting both sides here. And we're going about 5 repetitions to each side. For this next one, you're going to bring both legs up towards you. A little bit easier is to grab underneath the thighs and then let those knees come towards those armpits. So again, really opening up in through those hip rotators. You can add a little rock side to side, kind of massage that low back. If you've got the flexibility for it, you can take those hands on the outside of those feet and again, bring those knees right towards those armpits. You can rock a little bit, like I said. If it feels better for you, you can even just stay right here. If you really want to add something to it, you can go ahead then and work on straightening those legs out too. You'll get a little bit more hamstring in there as well. But whichever version feels good to you, you're going to hold for about 3 to 5 breaths. For this next pose, if you've got some blocks or some pillows, it can help to open up that hip joint a little bit more. You don't have to use it, but it will help support the knee. So you're gonna lie with those feet together, and the goal here is literally just let those legs flop open. So you wanna let gravity help allow those legs to come down. And this is where if you feel like there's tension in through the hip or in through those knees, and you need a little bit of support, right, either through the hip or through the knee, you just put some pillows or blocks there and it gives you a little bit of support, and then really opening up through those inner thighs. This is when I really like to, you should always focus on breathing, but I really like focusing on breathing here, thinking about bringing that belly up as you inhale, and then as you exhale, let that belly flatten out. Helps to just open things up even a little bit more. And again, about 3 to 5 breaths. Moving into some standing poses, this one is the easiest of them, at least in my opinion. So that's why we're starting with this one. So you're gonna bring those feet nice and wide as feels comfortable for you. You're gonna keep those toes pointed forwards. Arms are gonna come overhead. And then I'm actually just arching back and pressing those hips forward a little bit. So really getting a stretch through those hip flexors. Mine are super tight, so it doesn't take me a lot of movement. If you want to add a little bit of mobility with this, think about squeeze those glutes, tuck that pelvis, and then add that little lean, pause for a second, and come back up. Otherwise, still add that squeeze, add that tuck, and then you're holding again for about 3 to 5 breaths. This next one is a little deeper into those hip flexors. It's a little balancy, so if you need something sturdy to hang on so you can focus on the stretch, go ahead and do it, but feel free to challenge your balance here too. So one foot's gonna go in front, other foot is gonna go back. We're doing a high lunge, so this forward knee bends. Same idea as before, you wanna tuck that pelvis underneath, even squeeze those glutes a little. And if you've got the balance, you're gonna bring those arms up overhead. Now you can kind of rock in and out of this pose, right? Especially if you've been sitting, this is a great way to get some mobility. And as I always say, motion is lotion. If you need to though, hang right on here. You can even bring one arm up and do that same thing. If you're rocking, about 5 to 10 little rocks. If you're just holding, again, that 3 to 5 breaths. Going back to that wide stance, this time though, we're gonna turn our toes out. We're getting more into the inner thigh. Arms are gonna come up. You're gonna squeeze those shoulder blades gently and bring those elbows down as you sink down into those pose. Let those knees follow those toes. And actually from here, I kind of like to add my own little variation where I bring my hands down on my thighs and then add a shoulder dip. So if I'm dipping my left shoulder, I'm opening into that right thigh and then alternating. So we can get a little posture work, we can get a little bit more mobility as we go, about 10 repetitions, so 5 to each side. And again, if you're just kind of hanging into that goddess pose, you can even add a little bit of mobility here by coming up and down, or pausing and holding this pose for about 3 to 5 breaths. This next one gets the hamstrings and the shin a little bit more. So kind of like we did in that high lunge, one foot's going to come forward, one foot back. Try to keep both toes facing forward. If you need to, of course, you can turn that foot out if it's a little bit more comfortable for you. Shifting back into those hips, this front leg stays relatively straight. And keeping that flat back if you can, you're bringing those hands down. Now I know that this may be a challenging pose to do, so there are a couple ways to modify this. You can go ahead and put your hands on blocks, yoga blocks or pillows. And then to even make it a little bit easier than that, you can use some chairs so that you're a little bit higher up as well. If you want mobility, go ahead and bend and straighten into that front knee. Otherwise, again, that 3 to 5 breath hold, and of course, both sides. All right, this last one incorporates pretty much all those hip muscles. So one foot is going to turn out, the other foot is going to point straight forward. You're going to turn those hips so you're facing over that front leg as this front knee bends. Arms are going to come out to the side. You're looking straight over those fingers. If it's irritating on your shoulders at all, you can just bring your arms down or even behind to open up that chest. Make sure that you don't collapse into this back foot. So I'm really kind of pressing and opening apart both legs here. And then if you want to add a little flow here, one of my absolute favorite things to do during the day is go from this warrior position to a peaceful warrior. So I'm flipping my palm, I'm coming back up, I'm not bending that knee, and then opening those arms up. You can even add a little bit more flow here by doing a little bit of a side angle pose. So we're getting more into that inner thigh, opening up the other side body. So you have a little bit of variety here on what feels best for your body.